Given the opportunity to drive a 530 brake horsepower GTI makes sense. Ludicrous, but makes sense. Having already driven a Stage 3 S3 and an R puts me in a good place to understand more about how capable, or potentially impractical, this car actually is. At Stage 3 levels, this car's not just against other Stage 3 cars though, or arguably a progression from Stage 2 to Stage 3. It's elevated to be compared against its bigger brother, the Golf R, stepsister S3, probably more attractive, stepsister RS3 as well. Before that though, in true scientific style, I wanted a control test, a benchmark if you like, as to what the original car felt like. I personally owned a Mark V GTI Edition 30 and was excited to drive a manual GTI again. You would think that the Mark 7 would be leaps and bounds in front of a 2007 car. The test car was basically brand new and the engine hadn't really loosened up properly, but the only standout feature of the car was also its Achilles heel. The gearbox felt smooth and tight. There will always be a rewarding feeling for getting the gears right in a manual car. However, there is no comparison against a DSG car. A manual car was all we were able to get our hands on though. Unfortunately, certainly for me, the whole experience with a standard GTI left me feeling underwhelmed and flat. Not something I felt driving a standard Golf R recently. Okay, fine. So, done the Golf R APR Stage 3 car, done the Audi S3 Stage 3 car. It only seemed right to do the Golf GTI Stage 3. I was fortunate, as you've probably seen just a moment ago, to have a standard GTI. Just as a comparison, I knew this car was coming, I knew that I would be able to, review this car, but it's really, really difficult, I think, as I found at the S3, to understand exactly what difference the actual Stage 3 makes if you've not driven a standard car. Most people who get Stage 3 kits, whether you go from APR or somewhere else, will inevitably have at least done Stage 1. They might do Stage 2, probably would have done Stage 2 because all the components and hardware from Stage 2 is needed in order to get the Stage 3 kit. But having never driven a GTI before, it was really, really good to understand. So where do we sit with this car? Funny thing, with the traction control on, this car picks up speed like you would not believe. It just goes. You can hear the crack. It's not a pop. It's not a DSG fault. This is a DSG car. Although the GTI which I was in, a couple of days ago, that was manual. It's not a DSG fart as such. It's a crack. I like that. Golf R owner was checking the GTI out. You inevitably do that. I have a Golf R. I look at the Golf Rs. It's just one of those things that you do. Anyway. So how does this stack up? How does it stack up compared to the other two cars? Well, inevitably, if you've watched the other couple of videos, I thought the S3, whilst it was capable, whilst it went, I'm by no means, a journalistic petrol head. I'm just an amateur and an enthusiast, but the narrative of the Audi S3 or the Audi cars feels slightly numb. I didn't think it felt numb until I'd driven a Golf R Stage 3 kit, and then it felt, lethargic is the word that I'd use. Potent, but slightly lethargic, just in the feel. But that was compromised, or the compromise to that was the fact that it felt like silk on the road. You go over bumps, and you've just been over a bump there, and the S3, that just soaks it up. It's just, a joy to drive. Next, the Golf R well, that felt really, really sharp in comparison. That was twinkle toeing. This GTI, it feels like a wild animal. You switch that traction control off. If you're not paying attention, you are going to crash. I'm not necessarily talking just about understeer. I'm just talking about, you know, general day-to-day driving. This is a daily driver. This is a car which is used every single day. And on the front, it's got 245s. Now that's more than the standard GTI. I think the standard GTI's got 225s on, and you know, you can feel the difference. You know, even from the little comparison that I've done, you can feel the difference. Whether I would want to have this as my daily driver, well, pottering about, I think you'd be hard pressed to know that it was a stage 3 car. Obviously, the induction sounds, the rushes, turbo spool, and the cracks, you know, they give it away a little bit. But it's not that much different. If you just pottering about, it's not that much different. As soon as you open that throttle, though, boy, this car is moving. Let's switch the traction control off, shall we? Spin. Spin. Can you feel that? Spin. I think that's enough. I think that's enough. Oh, spinning chokes there. Let's turn the traction control on and let's see what difference that makes. If you can pick this up on the camera, I know the keen enthusiast of you will be. Much more composed. There's no torque steer at all. There is no slipping. Perfect. Perfect. That's where the smoothness comes in. That's where it still felt alive, but it just didn't feel like I was skirting all over the road there. I suppose in some respects, you need more ability to drive a car like this than you do in a Golf R. A Golf R, planted, you go around the corner, you take the traction control off, it's never really off, it's still there. This, you turn the traction control off, you know, you saw it there, I don't know if you could see properly, but you know, we were moving about the road there a little bit. As soon as I pushed it back on, no problem. I suspect this would have been, with the traction control on, still spinning. I suspect if this review was in the wet, we would be having a very different review. Very, very different review. Whereas, you know, arguably the Golf R would be more composed. No problem. So what else can I tell you about the GTI? Well, you know, I don't want to make my channel, I don't want to make these reviews into a, you know, well, this is the Golf R, look at the cubby space, look at the DSG box, and you know, whatever else. This is specifically about the tune. This is the stuff that I wanted to know when I was looking on YouTube to understand more. Well, is a DSG car stage 3, is it worth it? Well, if you've got the money, Christ, you know, I'd recommend, if you can, getting into a stage 3 car to have a feel for yourself just exactly what this is. You know, this is raw power. I didn't even take it past 6,000 RPM. You know, there's still a little bit more in there, and arguably at the top end, that's where the real power comes in. It's really difficult not to like this car. Inevitably, I don't think it's going to be for everyone, but for those who do, I genuinely think that it's going to be one of the most rewarding packages that's out there. Thanks for checking the video out. If you like what you've seen, hit subscribe or leave a comment in the comment section. I promise I will try and get back to you. Thanks very much.